of my good students who are answering my question is inside the atom. And inside the atom, we already spoke about few scientists who helped us understand that what was the journey of exactly knowing what is present inside the atom. In the journey of inside the atom, we spoke about, just a minute, I need to take care of few students who are still not understanding that they're not supposed to scribble the screen. So the first scientist, I'll begin the chapter from the start. The first scientist we spoke about was Rishi Kannad in the year 6th century BC, who helped us understand that there's a limit to divide matter into small particles, and the small particles which was named by Rishi Kannad was Paramanu, which means indivisible and indestructible. This was the term given by Rishi Kannad. Followed by that, in the 5th century BC, we studied about a Greek philosopher whose name was Democritus. I'm moving ahead with this real quickly because this is the revision of what we've done in the previous class. Democritus stated that matter is made up of small particles which cannot be divided further. And atomos was a Greek word which means uncuttable, which cannot be cut. And that is why we get the term atom. In this same process, the next scientist was in the year 1803 AD. His name was John Dalton. And John Dalton gave us the most famous atomic theory, which was called as Dalton's atomic theory, which said that, anybody remembers what is Dalton's atomic theory? I know we are not having this interaction session here, where you're not able to give me the answer, but at least you can say. And when I'm repeating, I hope you'll understand that what is the answer. According to Dalton's atomic theory, matter is made up of atoms. Atoms are indivisible and indestructible. Very good. And we also know that all atoms of the element are alike, while different elements have different atoms with different masses. These were the three important points or postulates which were given by Dalton's atomic theory. And according to Dalton's atomic model, the structure of the atom was just a solid sphere ball. Nothing more than that. He could not see what is present inside the atom. And to know about inside the atom, the first person who was able to cut the atom and tell us that what is exactly present inside it was the scientist whom we left last time. Very good. It is J.J. Thomson. It is J.J. Thomson, okay? So J.J. Thomson gave us the most famous Thomson's plum pudding model, about whom which we are going to discuss in detail today. So let us see what did Thomson say about the plum pudding model of the atom. Before we understand the plum pudding model, first we need to know what is the meaning of plum pudding, right? I think this all we have discussed in the previous class. Plum pudding is a sweet dish which is prepared during Christmas, and in the Western countries, they prepare it by putting the dry fruit, plum or raisins or dates. And to use the common language, I said it is just like the kheer which we made in our homes. And inside the kheer, when we put these raisins, the raisins which are seen in the kheer is the pudding, it is just like the plum which is put in the pudding. And according to Thomson's atomic model, the plum pudding model of the Thomson was put forth in the year 1904. That was the first atomic structure. And this is how the structure looks like, where he said that there is a positive charge distributed throughout the atom and the negatively charged electrons are embedded in it. The distributed positive charge is balanced by the negative charge on the electrons, because of which the atom becomes electrically neutral. Let me make one point very clear, and that is that students, Thomson was able to give us discovery about only the negatively charged particles called as electrons. Negatively charged particles called as electrons. And when he had put forth his Thomson's plum pudding model, various scientists asked him the question that when an atom is electrically neutral, how do you balance the charges? For which he gave the answer that there's a positive charge bed on which the negative charge electrons are embedded in it. And the distributed positive charge is balanced by the negatively charged electrons, and that is why the atom becomes electrically neutral. Are you all able to understand this? Have you all written this statement in your notebook? Did you write anything about Thomson's plum pudding model of the atom? Yes, have you written or not? No. Okay. So what are you going to write? Give the heading as Thomson's plum pudding model of the atom, and I would request you to only write the second point, because that is important as the key statement to remember the answer. And what is the statement you're going to write? The positive charge is distributed throughout the atom and the negatively charged electrons are embedded in it. Quickly, please write down everyone. The second point. As far as your exams are concerned in school, I think majority of the schools are conducting only the multiple choice questions pattern of the exam, isn't it? If in case you are having a multiple choice question in the exam, or you are having a writing paper which you're supposed to write online and just upload it, whatever the system you are having, what I request you to is that in the exam, the diagrams will not be asked. See, if it's a multiple choice question, definitely they cannot ask you the diagram, but they can give you the diagram and ask you to identify. So for that purpose, you need to know which diagram is associated with which experiment. Like when we talk about Dalton's atomic theory, it's a solid sphere. But when I talk about plum pudding model, this is how the diagram looks like. So make sure you're learning the diagrams as well. And the word embedded means it is put inside. When we put something, when we press something inside a sphere, it is called as embedded. Yes, wait, I hope this question is clear for you. And I am saying this diagram because in MCQs also, they might give you different diagrams and ask you to identify to which experiment does it belong. So make sure when you're writing the experiment, you're seeing the diagram carefully. So are we all done through the Thomson's plum pudding model of the atom? Did we all understand what did Thomson do in the discovery of inside the atom? If you're finished writing, please raise your hand so that I move to the next slide. And you don't have to write everything notes and the textbook is there with you. I will just ask you to write what is important so that when you're revising, it's only at that time you need to make a note of all these statements. Out of 45 students in the class, only 13 participants have raised their hands. What are others doing? Okay, very well. A lot of students now. Moving ahead, let us see now who was the next person who helped us understand what is exactly present inside the atom. But to understand that, let me give you a small experiment here, which you might have done when you were being a child, which you still are. I am asking you to throw the stones around the fence. Okay, what you see here, here's a fence, and because I'm not so good with technology, so please ignore my diagrams here. I've given a hand, I have a few stone pieces. I am asking you to throw the stones around the fence. What do you expect to happen, students? What do you expect? क्या होगा अगर मैं ऐसा stones को fence के through throw कर दूंगी? What is going to happen? Where will the stones go? Will they go outside the fence? Will they fall inside the fence? Will they touch the fence? What do you think is going to happen? Yes, few answers here. Outside. Someone is saying nothing is going to happen. Why will nothing happen? The stones will fall, right? Some are saying inside, some are saying outside. Some are definitely saying it might touch the fence. Very good. So now, my dear students, when we are trying to throw the stones and we are going to put it around the fence, few stones might pass through the fence because there's a lot of empty space. Can we see that? Though fence के बीच में इतना space है, it might go through the fence and fall on the other side. Few might touch the fence and change its angle, isn't it? It might touch the fence and change its angle, and depending upon the throw which I am giving, it is bound to change its direction. Do you agree? It is not possible that everyone is going to the same speed. Some might fall on the other side, some might fall on the inside, some might pass through, some might touch the fence and change its angle. Exactly using this concept, the next person who helped us the major contribution in discovering inside the atom was a Danish physicist in the year 1911. His name was Ernest Rutherford. Very important person, student. In the year 1911, Danish physicist, his name was Ernest Rutherford. Let us understand what Rutherford helped us inside the atom. Rutherford gave us the most famous Rutherford's nuclear model of the atom, which is also referred to as sometimes as the gold foil experiment, Rutherford's scattering experiment. These are different names. Let us try to understand first, what did he use the apparatus to carry on the experiment? Rutherford studied the inside of the atom by his celebrated scattering experiment and put forth the nuclear model of the atom in the year 1911. For this experiment, he took a very thin gold foil, so thin that its thickness was only 10 raised to minus 4 millimeters. Millimeters, all you know, it's the unit to measure the length. 10 raised to minus 4 millimeters, and bombarded means it allowed to throw, uske upar dal dena. It is the meaning of bombarded with positively charged alpha particles. Can you see the A written there? That is called as alpha particles, which are usually emitted by a radioactive element. Radioactive elements are the ones which are highly unstable, which give out positive charge emissions, which are called as alpha particles. Emitting means bahar nikalna. From that atom, something which is coming out means emitted. And bombarded means जो emit हो रहा है उसको मैं किसी और के ऊपर डाल रही हूँ. I'm going to put it on someone else, so I'm bombarding it with. Are the terms clear to you? Bombarded and emitted. So the radioactive element is going to emit out positively charged particles, which are called as alpha particles, which I am allowing to fall on the thin gold foil. See, when I continuously speak, there might be a time that you might just lose your attention and you might not understand what I'm talking. So I would ask you to concentrate on the diagram when I am saying all this. Now, one thing I'm going to ask you to see in the diagram. The first thing what you're going to see is the alpha particle emitter. Can everybody see the alpha particle emitter in the diagram? Please locate the alpha particle emitter. Can you see that? This alpha particle emitter is actually the radioactive element. Samajh mein aaya? And this radioactive element is nothing but the helium atom, which is going to give out or emit out positively charged particles, which are my alpha particles. First thing samajh mein aaya? Now you might be thinking, what is present outside? Outside the alpha particle emitter is a lead block. Why have we kept that? Because it's insulation. Insulation ka matlab kya? That I am allowing the radiations to pass only in one direction. When I say radiations means the alpha particles. I want it to pass in only one direction. If I keep it open, it is going to pass in all the directions. So we need a block which will allow only one direction. Then we have a slit in between to make sure that the directions are falling straight on the gold foil. In the center, can you all see the gold foil? Can you all see the gold foil? On the gold foil, which has a thickness of 10 raised to minus 4 millimeter, the radiations are allowed to pass. When the radiations pass or fall on the gold foil, they emit it out, and then I am capturing it with the help of a detecting screen. Now surrounding the gold foil, can you see the detecting screen? Can you see the detecting screen, which is going to collect the radiations, which are going to tell me कि ये particles hit होकर कहाँ जा रहा है, which is made up of zinc sulfide. And slit is nothing but a cardboard with a hole. Slit means a cardboard with a hole, which is allowing the radiations to pass only in one direction. Is the diagram clear to you in your mind? The detecting screen is nothing but the fluorescent screen, which is made up of zinc sulfide. Both the names are same. In the textbook, instead of the detecting screen, they've given the fluorescent screen. Both mean the same. Fluorescent because we need to capture the color so that we understand how are the radiations falling. Is it all right? Did you all understand the setup? If the setup is understood by you, then let us try to understand. Everyone try to think on the terms of Rutherford now. Sabse pehle, before we think about Rutherford, do we know what was the work done by the previous scientist? We all know that, right? हमको पता है कि जॉन डाल्टन ने बताया एक स्फीयर है एटम का. We know J.J. Thomson told me that a atom consists of a positive charged bed जिसके अंदर negatively charged particles electron, right? So now think students, अगर एक atom के अंदर मैं alpha particles को emit कर रही हूँ, what is the charge on alpha particles? What is the charge on alpha particles? Come on, tell me quickly. What is the charge on alpha particles? It is written, no, dash charged alpha particles. What is the charge? Anyone? All are sleeping. What is the charge? Very good, Simar, Saidam, very good. It's positive. Positively charged alpha particles are allowed to fall on the gold foil, right? And according to J.J. Thomson, the gold foil should be positive. And when two positives meet, what happens? Positive attract, positive repel. Like charges attract each other or like charges repel each other? Very good. They repel each other, right? So now, if I go from the line of thinking of J.J. Thomson, that is what was expected by Rutherford as well. It was expected that the alpha particles would get reflected, isn't it? वो reflect हो जाएगा, मतलब repel हो जाएगा. Why? Because the gold foil is positively charged, as told by J.J. Thomson. This is what Rutherford also expected. Rutherford ने भी यही expect किया कि ये positive charge है, ये भी positive है, repel हो जाएगा. But let us see what exactly happened in the experiment. In the experiment, my dear students, please everyone pay attention here. This is just like throwing the stones around the fence. It is that simple. Most of the alpha particles, what did he observe was, most of the alpha particles passed straight through the gold foil. He did not expect this to happen because when he was thinking according to the lines of J.J. Thomson, he thought that they should repel, but this did not happen. Unexpectedly, most of the alpha particles went straight through the gold foil. This was the first observation. The second observation was a small number of alpha particles got deflected from the original path through a small angle. Deflected means what? Straight जाते जाते किसी को touch किया और अपना angle change कर दिया. Okay? Deflected means it was going straight, but it hit something, it changed its angle. So a small number of alpha particles got deflected from the original path to a small angle. A still smaller number of particles get deflected to a large angle. And surprisingly, my dear students, surprisingly, out of 20,000 alpha particles, only one alpha particle bounced back in the direction opposite to the original path. That means कि इतना सारा alpha particles means 20,000 में से only one repelled. Only one repelled. Try to understand here. This was the observation which was recorded by Rutherford from his nuclear model of the atom. Think what did we think? Why did we say कि fence में बहुत सारा stones दूसरा side चला जाएगा? Why will it go on the other side? Because there was an empty space. So when most of the alpha particles pass straight through the gold foil, अगर उसने किसी को भी touch नहीं किया है, that means there is a lot of empty space inside the atom. Do you all agree? With the first observation, at least even though if I'm not reading about Rutherford, I know that if most of the alpha particles have passed straight, that means there's a lot of empty space inside my atom. And then what do I see? That a smaller number and a still smaller number have deflected, or means they've changed their position. That means there is something inside which they are touching and changing their angle. And the something which they are touching, that is definitely negative. Why negative? क्योंकि वो अपना angle change कर रहा है. They are not coming back. They are not coming back. They are changing their angle. That means they can touch each other. So they are opposite. Because my alpha particle, which is positive, is touching something which is negative, because of which it is changing the angle. So something what it is touching is definitely going to be negative. And what does the last point tell me? That out of 20,000, when only one is coming back, मतलब वो जो one को touch किया है, वो definitely positive है. क्योंकि किसी positive को ही touch करके वो repel करेगा, isn't it? It is going to touch something which is positive and it is reflected back. That means there is something in the center which is touching and coming back to the original path. So now, even though if Rutherford doesn't give me the inference, I'm pretty sure all my intelligent students out there are able to give me the answer to these questions. If I've given you these observations, think on the lines of throwing the stones around the fence and let us try to understand what were the things that Rutherford has got from the experiment. So this is how the Rutherford structure of an atom looks like, my dear students. And as you all can see, the first point says a large number of alpha particles that went straight through the gold foil indicates there is no obstacle in their path. Can you see in the diagram? Everybody, can you see the diagram properly? Rutherford's most of the alpha particles passed straight. That means it did not touch anything in their path. The second point, when it did not touch, definitely बहुत सारा empty space है inside the solid gold foil. And when the small number of alpha particles that get deflected through a small or a big angle must have faced an obstacle in their path, isn't it? Obstacle तो हमको diagram में दिख रहा है. And what is the obstacle here which they are touching? Can anybody guess? What is the obstacle? Come on, at least one. No, the obstacle which Vedika, the obstacle which it might have touched should be negative. I am telling about the small and the big angles. What small dot blue color का क्या है inside the atom? What did J.J. Thomson discover about? What did J.J. Thomson tell us? Come on. Negative charge. Yes, Advika. What is a negative charge called as? What are the negative? Very good, Devin. It is called as electron. Oh, Devin, welcome back. So it is called as negatively charged particles called as electron. Very good. So now I hope you are understanding how does the structure of an atom looks like. Isn't it? And now when we say that agar ek bounce back towards the source hota hai, that means it contains positively charged and heavy part which is causing the obstruction would be in the center of the atom. So with the gold foil experiment, my dear students, first thing, whenever you carry out an experiment, definitely I'm sure among all these students, at least 2 to 3 students would be thinking under the lines of a scientist कि कोई भी experiment करने से पहले first we need to know what is the aim, what I am expecting to be getting out of the experiment. The same thing Rutherford thought, right? उसने सोचा मुझे क्या मिलेगा. He studied the work given by the previous scientist, and accordingly he expected that the alpha particles would repel. But unexpectedly ऐसा कुछ हुआ नहीं उसके experiment में. He got a totally new observation. And what are the 4 observations faced by Rutherford? First, most of the alpha particles passed straight. Few alpha particles were deviated at small angles. Still fewer were deviated at large angles. And out of 20,000, only one bounced back towards the source. These were the 4 observations. And from this 4 observations, what did he conclude? That because most of them passed straight, there was no obstacle in their path. That means it's an empty space. The ones which got deflected at small and large angles have faced an obstacle. And the one which came back had caused a destruction or the obstruction in the center, which is the positive charge and heavy part. So let us try to write the postulates which were given by the Rutherford. So from this, Rutherford put forth a nuclear model for an atom as follows. The first point, he said there is a positively charged nucleus at the center of an atom. Almost the entire mass of the atom is concentrated in the nucleus. Negatively charged particles called electrons revolve around the nucleus, and the total negative charge on the electron is equal to the positive charge on the nucleus. As opposite charges are balancing each other, the atom is electrically neutral, and there is an empty space between the revolving electrons and the atomic nucleus. Is it clear? Did you all understand these 5 points? These 5 points are getting from the observation which we got in the experiment. Is it all right? See, this answer is given in your textbook on page number 30. On page number 30, right hand side, top corner, this answer is given in your notebook. I'm sorry, in the textbook. So I'm not asking you to write, but definitely I would request everyone to read with me. I'm pretty sure everyone is very true to yourself and you're genuine and you're reading with me. Come on, everyone, let us read. It's a very important question from examination point of view, that Rutherford's nuclear model for an atom. What is the first point? Come on, repeat. There is a positively charged nucleus at the center of an atom. Second point, the entire mass of the atom is concentrated in the nucleus. The third point, negatively charged particles called electrons revolve around the nucleus. And because the negative charge on the electron is equal to the positive charge on the nucleus and opposite charges are balancing, we say an atom is electrically neutral. Now this fourth point can be asked as a give reason in your exam. And what will be the give reason? Give reason that why an atom is electrically neutral. How are you going to answer that? Come on, let me see who is going to answer this question. I am asking you, give reason why an atom is electrically neutral. Anyone? No one? Are you all listening to the teacher? Yes, come on, tell me. Give reason that why an atom is electrically neutral. If you're thinking, let me give you this answer. An atom is electrically neutral because inside an atom, the positively charged nucleus is balancing the negative charge on the electrons. As both the numbers are equal, we say an atom is electrically neutral. And the fifth point is there's an empty space between the revolving electron and the atomic nucleus. With this, we understand the exact structure of an atom, which was given by and explained very well by Ernest Rutherford in the year 1911, where he gave us this nuclear model of the atom. Even after giving this beautiful discovery, even after helping us understanding so clearly the structure of the atom, there were certain drawbacks which were faced by Rutherford. Let us see. What is the drawback? क्या प्रॉब्लम हुआ? हमको एटम का स्ट्रक्चर पता चल गया, कैसे इलेक्ट्रॉन्स है, सब कुछ पता चला, फिर भी मिस्टेक कहां पे हुआ? Let us see that. As the established law of physics says, an electrically charged body revolving in circular orbit, its energy decreases. Now, as said by Rutherford, he said that the electrons are revolving in the orbits, right? So, agar koi cheez revolve karta hai, if something is moving, according to physics, when the charged bodies are moving in circular orbits, its energy decreases. और जब उसका energy decrease हो जाएगा, according to this law, the atom described in Rutherford's model turns out to be unstable. Why does it become unstable, my dear students? Because the energy has decreased. और जब energy decrease हो जाएगा, it will rotate and fall inside the nucleus, isn't it? अगर electron revolve होकर nucleus के अंदर गिर जाएगा, that means the atom will become unstable. So, as said by Rutherford, the model turns out to be unstable. But we all know that it's not possible. Is the atom unstable? Why do I am so sure that atom is not unstable? Because atoms I am seeing everywhere around me. The book, paper, pen, whatever you're eating, you yourself, everything is containing of these atoms, right? The matter. And we all are not unstable. We all are stable, isn't it? We don't get charged. So if everything is stable, then what went wrong in Rutherford's model? Let us see that. So in reality, we know that except radioactive element, all are stable. So the shortcoming of Rutherford's atomic model was removed by the atomic model, which was put forth by Niels Bohr in the year 1913. I am sure as soon as I am giving you the name of the next scientist, the first thing which comes to your mind, कितना scientist के बारे में पढ़ना है और कितने scientist आएंगे जो नया-नया discovery देंगे. So do not worry, he is the last one who is finally winding up the structure of an atom, and his name is Niels Bohr. Definitely the structure given by Rutherford is correct. It's absolutely correct. But the only drawback which we faced was he could not say exactly about the position of the electrons. And that concept was given clarity by Niels Bohr in the year 1913. So the next and the last scientist about whom we are going to study is Niels Bohr, who gave us the stable orbit atomic model in the year 1913, and he explained the stability of an atom by putting forth the stable orbit atomic model. Let's see what is a stable orbit atomic model here. What did he explain about the electrons? See, about the discovery of electrons was given by J.J. Thomson. About the protons, slowly and gradually Rutherford gave us the explanation. But exactly about the position of the electrons was explained by Niels Bohr. So the important postulates, postulate means points. The important points or the important statements of Bohr's atomic model are as follows. The first thing he said that the electrons revolving around the atomic nucleus lie in concentric circular orbits at certain distance from the nucleus. अभी ये पॉइंट तुमको समझ में नहीं आएगा, मेरी बात ध्यान से सुनो. The first thing is very clear. Electrons revolving around the atomic nucleus. ये दिख रहा है डायग्राम. In the center I have this positive charge which is the nucleus, और उसके बाद 1 लिखा है which is K, 2 लिखा है which is L, 3 लिखा है which is M, और 4 लिखा है which is N. One after the other there are circles, right? They are called as orbits. और why they say is concentric? Concentric means one after one after one after. एक circle है, उसके बाद एक और circle है, उसके बाद एक और circle है, followed by one more circle. And as you can see, they're at certain distance from the nucleus. The distance is maintained. So the electrons revolving around the atomic nucleus lie in concentric orbits at a certain distance from the nucleus. What are these orbits? These orbits are also called as shells. So the first orbit or the first shell is called as the K shell. Positively charged nucleus के बाजू में जो first circle है, the first orbit is called as the K shell. The second one is called as the L shell. The third one is the M shell, and the fourth one is the N shell. This is what was explained in detail about Niels Bohr. See, The first Rutherford told us about the structure of the atom, but he was not able to give us the explanation of these shells in which the electrons are distributed, right? This explanation was given by Niels Bohr, where he helped us in understanding these 4 concentric orbits or shells, which are termed as K, L, M, and N. Concentric means one after one after one after. एक circle है, उसके बाद एक और circle है, उसके बाद एक और circle है. Isn't it? And if you might be thinking कि मैम ये letters का क्या significance है? Why is it K, L, M, N? तो उसके बाद क्या होगा? O, B, Q, R, S, T. No, my dear students, it's not like that. These are random names that do not have any significance. Just like in algebra, we say, let any term be X. Let any term be Y. Similarly, in chemistry also, they have just taken these random alphabets, which is K, L, M, and N. They have no significance. What are they having in significance in detail? That we'll be studying in higher standards. Isn't it? Yes, there are more shells than N also, and how they are termed, that all we'll be discussing in higher standards. For you, till 10th standard, you're going to study only about these 4 shells in detail, which are K, L, M, and N. Isn't it? Is this clear? So this was the first point where he said about the position of the electrons. In the second point, he said that energy of the electron is constant. It is constant while it is in a particular orbit. जब वो एक ही orbit में रहता है, उसका energy constant है. But does that mean the electron cannot change the orbit? Let us see in the next point. When an electron jumps from an inner orbit to an outer orbit, एक orbit से दूसरी orbit में जाने के लिए it needs energy. And that energy it is absorbing, which is same as the difference in the energy level. दो shells के बीच में जो energy level difference है, it is going to absorb that and going to shift to the other shell. And then when he is emitting out that energy, when it is emitting out that energy, it jumps from the outer orbit to the inner orbit, and the energy is again equal to the difference in the energy level. And there is no specific rule why it was KLMN. It was a random name, and there was no one to explain that why they did not take ABCD. So we have no answer for this because even there was no particular reason for using these alphabets. Is it all right? So what's the third point? When an electron jumps from an inner orbit to an outer orbit, it absorbs energy equal to the difference in the energy level. And when it jumps from the outer orbit to the inner orbit, it emits the same amount of energy, which is equal to the difference. So with this, we exactly understand how does the structure of an atom looks like. Now, everybody, I hope everyone is clear with the concept of the structure of an atom and who are the scientists who helped us in understanding all this. Isn't it? We spoke about Rishi Kannad, we spoke about Democritus, John Dalton, J.J. Thomson, Rutherford, and the last one was Niels Bohr. I know to remember the work of the scientist is a little difficult, but my dear students, we are studying in detail only about Rutherford and Niels Bohr. In Rutherford's answer, I told you to remember 5 points. In Niels Bohr, there are 3 points. These are two important answers which you need to learn. Otherwise, everything is basically an objective type of question. So when I'm trying to summarize the entire work of all the scientists, let me see what does an atomic structure looks like. An atom is formed from the nucleus and the extranuclear part. Let us see what is the nuclear and the extranuclear part. 3 types of subatomic particles, my dear students, we can see inside the atom. And the 3 particles are protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons and neutrons. Proton is represented by P, neutron is represented by N, and electron is represented by E minus. Both protons and neutrons together are present inside the nucleus, so they are called as nucleons. Can you see here? In the center, there is a nucleus, जिसके अंदर present है proton or neutron. Outside, there are shells, which has a lot of empty space, and the negatively charged particle called as electrons. So to summarize the work of all these scientists, I have given you this slide here, and this is not there in the textbook. So I would request you to make this flow chart. There is no need to draw the diagram, but if you want for your understanding, you can roughly draw it in your notebook, but quickly write this slide, please. Yes, please raise your hand if you're finished writing. Diagram is not necessary. It is not going to be asked in the exam. This is for your understanding. If you want to draw, you draw. If you don't want to draw, it's fine. This diagram, nobody is going to ask you. It is only to get the clarity of what exactly an atom looks like. I think majority of you finished writing. And with this, I'll wind up my class as well. So till here, now we have finished with all the scientists who helped us in understanding the structure of an atom. And we've finally understood. In the next class, we'll study in detail about what exactly present inside the atom helps us in understanding about the chemistry in detail. I hope everybody has understood today's lecture. And because I enjoyed teaching you a lot, I hope you all also enjoyed. Isn't it? I can only hope. Hope to meet you soon in the classes.